Hi, my name is Robert Green, and over the next few minutes, I will share my philosophy of education with you. As an educator, the value in knowing your own personal philosophy of education is in being able to provide a voice for what one believes. Education is a serious business, and currently, the entire field is experiencing a metamorphosis due in part to the epistemic crisis, which is brought about by the many different nodes and splintering of educational philosophy. In finding our own personal philosophies, we become centered and grounded. This effect allows us to align ourselves as educators with our peers to steer this ship known by the common vernacular, education. Both my parents were educators. My father taught for 42 years and is enjoying his 22nd year of retirement. My mother taught 20 years and is in her 21st year of retirement. I started learning about educational philosophy at an early age as the different policies and concerns of my father were frequent topics of conversation at dinner time. I was not part of the conversation, but I listened as both my parents discussed their concerns about education, but more so, the concerns about their individual students. They all had names. They were not just students. They were people who had problems and families and challenges of which my parents seemed to take a personal interest. I was educated under the modern philosophy of education, which was prevalent during the 60s and is still used across America. In the modern philosophy, the teachers have the knowledge and the students serve as receptacles to be filled. The teacher is the undisputed authority whose words are to be accepted, not questioned. Initially, the system was developed to teach people how to fit in and be contributing members of the Industrial Revolution. Bells were used to tell classes when to begin and when to end. There was a cleanup period at the end of each day and another prior to lunch. There was a hidden agenda which assured we were learning how to be productive employees in the industrialized workforce, in addition to having a clean classroom ready to resume work after lunch or the next day. The principal was the ultimate authority at the school, and he, as a privileged white male, ruled with an iron fist, while having the final say regarding school policy and his students. The similarities between the school systems and the factories of the industrial area were more than just similarities. They were designed for students to move into productive positions upon completion of school. In short, the education system was designed to produce obedient, productive members of the working class. It is a challenge for me to divorce myself from these views because they did such a very good job. Nevertheless, in order to see an unbiased picture of our current education system in use, and then to formulate my own educational philosophy requires a lot of thought and evaluation. In order to do this, there was a 32-question survey providing insight to our personal belief system. This, in turn, was quantified and used to indicate an individual philosophy of education. After finishing the survey and answering the questions, my evaluation indicated a preference for the progressive theory of education. The underlying philosophy of progressivism says that instruction should be based on the needs, interests, and developmental stages of the children. In Libari's article in the Pedagogica Historica, a peer-reviewed journal, progressivism is further explained as child-centered instruction where students learn the skills needed to learn any subject. This is accomplished in part through the use of integrated student projects and cooperative learning activities. This discovery learning and learning how to learn is summarized as a constructivist philosophy. My beliefs align with this philosophy, and it has been my experience that a student's motivation increases exponentially when they have a voice in what and how they learn. A progressive style of education uses teaching methods which pull students into the learning process as we guide them in using scientific investigation, critical thinking, problem solving, cooperative learning activities, and individual or group decision-making. Multisensory modalities capture and utilize different learning styles or multiple intelligences. Howard Gardner was responsible for introducing this concept to the forefront of educational pedagogy in 1983. Educational philosophers who subscribed to the progressive philosophy included, but were not limited to, John Dewey, Colonel Francis W. Parker, and Ella Flagg Young. Miss Young was also a student of John Dewey's. They met at the University of Chicago. One of Dewey's best-known phrases is, "What the best and wisest parents want for his child, that must be what the community wants for all of its children." I think John Dewey was telling us that the wants and desires of the entire community should be the same as the smartest parents' wants and desires. I believe this was Dewey's way of saying that the parents of the students who belonged to the privileged upper class had certain expectations, wants, and desires for their children. These same expectations should be the educational goals for the entire community, not just the privileged white upper class. In summary, my thoughts and ideas about education are primarily from the progressive education philosophy. I believe that motivation can be achieved through the use of different projects and cooperative learning. Assessments should be a combination of formative evaluations and progressive monitoring. Skills appraisal should be done at random intervals so as to see the student at his best. When everything is said and done, the teacher must care for his students. Without a genuine caring, teachers will not be free to consistently assess and modify their philosophical beliefs to align themselves in the best interest of their students. Thank you.